Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Daniel YouTube show, episode 5. This is belief. This is the culmination of, well, there's one more episode. This is the why. Belief lives in why. We talked about who was me. That was my audition to you. We talked about how. That's the simulation. We talked about what is the story, the stage. We talked where, and then now why. Of the culmination of your thoughts. This is about the mind and belief and what you believe and how you believe it and where you believe it and the story of life and all those different things, just recategorizing them and letting you kind of make a checklist of why your brain is following these certain ideas and not others, and taking a step back and just kind of asking yourself, what do I believe? Do I know what I believe? Some people do. Some people think they do. And that's where the how comes in, the simulation, how your mind is controlled. That is where the where comes in, the mirror. That's the emotional state. Where is how your eyes and your ears emotionally are affected by what you hear and what you see. And that is also controlled for good and bad. And sometimes it's not even controlled, it's just emotionally steered. And sometimes you know it and sometimes you don't. And I am using Flat Earth as a um, template, as the stage we live on, to tell the story, not just of a personal story, but as a creation story, as a collective, the collective consciousness of people that all think, according to the news, that life goes one way, that we live in some globe Earth where government is controlled, it is in control, and they're not bad guys that are steering the mind, that are not. And then there's other people that say, no, that's what they're doing, and this is how they're doing it. They're stealing your mind through pictures and through the story, and then manipulating money, and then letting you think that you can win at this game, which is called idolatry, which is called idol worship, and then you become the idol, and people think they can beat them at the game. The people, the athletes and the musicians and the movie stars and the business people, they all think they can win at this game, and then there's a banker on top of them saying, "Yeah, play my game, play my game, play my game, because I created you." And then there's the people at the bottom, and they're just trying to keep them controlled. They're trying to not have them riot against them and trying to appease them. And if there's too many people that will go against them and not fall for their lie, and or if just they can't financially satisfy them, then their system will fall apart. And every 1,000 years, it seems like their systems falls apart. And we're in a new 1,000 year period. It's very interesting, and it seems like their system's falling apart. And on top of that, people are realizing that their beliefs have been stolen. The shape of the earth has been stolen. The fact that space travel is not real has been stolen. The fact that aliens are just demons. The fact that dinosaurs were faked. The fact that climate change is a depopulation program, and the manipulation of the earth is at the center of that. There is a genetic modification program going on, and all these things people are realizing. Now, this is belief, but everything lives in belief. If you believe the opposite, if you believe the globe, if you believe that global warming is happening, if you believe the biggest problem in the world is people not being nice to people, that's the other side saying, no, that's divide and conquer. They're trying to get you in a group and then have the races all battle against each other, like the old days, where you tell everybody you're an advanced race, and then the races battle against each other. And some people are really buying into that. And do you believe that? Is that where your belief lives? Now, so I'm going to step back here and tell you about the theory of belief. So the theory of belief lives in what we call philosophy. The school of philosophy is the study of knowledge. Flat earthers and conspiracy theorists get confused. We are really just the philosophers of this world. Now, there's the philosophy side, which is the knowledge side, and then there's the science side, the engineering side. So there's a lot of great flat earthers that are talking about the X's and O's and the math of this stolen earth and this stolen creation, and they do a great job. This is more about the philosophy of it, the theory behind it, the belief of it, which is all in the school of knowledge. And then wisdom is the application of that knowledge. So belief, your spiritual belief, your worldview of what your God is. Are you God? Are we all God? Pantheism. Is it one God? Theism. Me. Is it there's another God but it's not me? Monotheism. Is it dualism where there's two gods competing against each other? Uh, Heaven and hell, as above so below. Is it uh, dualism? No, it's the one with the clock. Deism, yeah, the dualism and then deism. Is it where God created and then left? Is it that you can tap into? Those are the world views of the Greek philosophers, and that will guide your belief. That's a big part of knowing what you believe as far as the spirit, as far as what your position is in this collective consciousness. If you are in charge, or is someone higher above you in charge, a spiritual being in charge of you. That is the spiritual side of it. Now politics gets into that. The Democrats, that word means the God of the people. On the money it says from the many one. So whoever controls the money is the one, and then that is our God, and then they act like they don't manipulate the value of it, and they do, and then we worship their God, trying to become God through their God system of money, and then reflecting glory, fame, and power with the money to make ourselves feel this spiritual experience. Now, every religion and everybody does a version of that. Then there's also just the beliefs of your common life as far as your science and everything else. And then there is the application of your belief. Now that lives in objective truth, subjective truth, and relative truth. So objective reality is this is an object. I can define this object. Rocks. Okay, what kind of rock is it? Go to the geologist and understand what kind of rock it is. Subjects. Okay, this is the NBA. That's a subject. What's the object? The game of basketball. But the NBA, the National Basketball Association, that has a monopoly on basketball. Okay, who's the best player? That's a great conversation. They still do it on ESPN to that day. That's a subject. Can you objectively determine something in a subject? Yes and no. I have a poem about this called "The Best in the World." It's pretty fun. You can check that out on French Lily Poetry. But I mean, it is an opinion. You can be right, and then someone else can also be right if it's subjective. Now, what you're finding out today, what I learned today in a lot of the political arguments, is people are taking subjective arguments and making it like dogmatic truth, like, oh, this is the only way. Whereas, as in the past, they were taking objective arguments and saying it's relative. It's just whatever the observer. I think, therefore I am. That was the Enlightenment saying from Rene Descartes. And then knowledge and wisdom come from me. I am the existence. I am the projector of knowledge. I mirror it. I simulate it. It comes from me and my brain. Now we're gonna get into that when we talk about the calendar and we talk about the where, and that's gonna be the last episode in the series. And that is a huge one. I haven't. I'm just really excited about it because I knew about it and I was studying it, but then I was just like, I knew it where it went, and it's crazy because it's about God being this creator God, and he beams it out of his mouth of his creation, and we live in a dream in his mind, and we're trying to create a dream, our own dream, so people live in our dream, and we're trying to compete against God for that. And if we just can realize his dream and just get along with his dream, I think it will be a magical experience, but no one seems to want to do it. The religious people are the ones that are getting in the way. It's the common people that could probably do it and just have a basic, nice life. But as far as objective truth goes, yeah, I noticed a lot of people were doing that and taking subjects and saying, there's only one, who's the best in the world, who's the best at this? Well, it lives in a stage. It lives in the problem with the NBA is such a great example of it because Danny Ainge was a player that won a lot of championships. He was a great player, but he never gets in the discussion of best. But he has one of the most championships because he was just on a lot of championship teams. And yes, he was a major player in those teams. The person that had the most points only won 2 championships, Wilt Chamberlain, and then Michael Jordan had a bunch of points, a bunch of championships, and then Kobe Bryant had a bunch of points, a bunch of championships. You look at all the stats. Lou Alcindor, who was named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who changed his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he had like crazy stats. He had the second most points, maybe like 5 championships, a bunch of steals and assists. So it's probably him. I don't know. Who knows? But it's you can. Then they say LeBron James has a bunch of points, and but you know you can say strength of schedule, and you can say you can do your argument. That's the subject, and that's why these people on ESPN and the sports talks is exciting, and it just goes year in year out. When I was a kid, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, and then there was Kobe Bryant, and then there was LeBron James, and I was like, oh, okay, the story's just repeating itself. The stage is the same, and now it's just a different actors. It's just different players, and humanity is still doing the same thing, and they're doing a version of the same thing, and it is fun to talk about who is good and who is great, but let's not forget the fact that we also need fans. We also need people to cheer them. And if there's just one great person and he is the authority figure, then we all bow down to him, like Nebuchadnezzar did in uh, Babylon, where he forced everybody to. This is where idolatry goes. This is where best in the world go. This is where, if you just focus on glory, fame, and power, the only reason we like Jeff Bezos or uh, Warren Buffett, is because we think we can become him. We think we can take his money. The thing about those guys, not Bezos, but Buffett, is he's part of the Federal Reserve. He took it over from David Rockefeller. Like, no, you can't. He will just print more money, crash your market, and then steal his money back. He'll literally blow up your buildings or blow up your trucks or to get his money back. I mean, they do control the stage of this earth, and then they do give us a bunch of phony baloney pictures and try to mesmerize your mind so you're trapped. So you bow down to authority. When the cops come to help you, you don't think they're bad, but when they come to harm you, you think they're bad. They are working for the Federal Reserve. I mean, they are bankrupted by the states. It all goes back to the Fed. They are at the bottom of the pyramid structure. We're holding the structure up as debt slaves, and the cycle just keeps on continuing. I'm not trying to bash cops in general, but that is, I mean, they're just regular people following orders, and if they're helping you, they're good. If they're not, they're not. I mean, and David Rockefeller is above them and from the grave, powering Warren Buffett. So yeah, that is belief. Tell me what you believe. Leave it in the comments. Do you believe dinosaurs are real? Why? Do you believe that climate change is real? Why? Why do you believe it? Because you heard it on TV? Is that why? Because that's why I believed it, and that's why I believe what I believe now. Is my YouTube better than your tube? The information I watch, it's different than yours. It's different research. But listen to what the research that we listen to, and then we go listen to your research. Your research is just an authoritative figure. I mean, most belief comes from an authority, and I don't really care much to argue with people about that anymore. You have to understand that, and you have to recognize that that is where your information comes from. It comes from someone's mouth. So does the religious stuff. It comes from someone's mouth. So does the political stuff. It comes from someone's mouth. And that mouth is just as fugazi as the stuff that you think is true. The stuff that you think is true. There's just, the only difference is they didn't give us enough information for me to believe. The fact that the guy who started dinosaurs, who went out to find dinosaurs, then started a museum with dinosaurs and paid for the Smithsonian, went out for a dig, and they don't have any full skeletons of dinosaurs. They have they say they have 1 or 2 bones for like one dinosaur. So why would I believe them? Why would I believe them? They never went back to the moon since 1972 or something like that. They didn't start to the 1969. They've never been. Most people are like, wait, what do you mean we've never been back to the moon? What do you mean? America's the only one that's ever been. There's never been a Russian on the moon, and there's never been a Chinese on the moon. It was the Apollo program, and that's it. And people are like, wait, hold on, let me check that out. No, please do. Please do. Because my belief comes from, with this stuff, it comes from questioning these authority figures, the authority figures that you've given your belief to, because they gave you a simulation, because they mirrored their energy to you. And then they gave you a story. This story is fake. You live in a fake story, and it was simulated to you by a bunch of liars that are trying to steal not just your money, but your glory, your power, and your fame. Because if we can beam it to God and give it to God, oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's fun. It's crazy. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do it one day. I believe it. Anyways, that's another story and that's another series. And we'll undercover that stuff a little bit later. But yeah, tell me what you believe. You believe in those crazy pictures of the Earth. You believe in the globe, the spinning ball. I can get most people in a flat Earth discussion to me. Oh, okay, the Earth is geocentric. Okay, it's not spinning. Geocentric doesn't mean that it's not spinning. The Earth is just not spinning. And then I've had a bunch of people go, okay, well, I'll give you geocentrism. Geocentrism means Earth is the center of existence. If it is not spinning, then it is most likely the center of existence because of what we observe with the sun and the moon. Then they're spinning around us in its center. Then we're the center of existence if it is not spinning. And if it is not spinning, then it is not a sphere. It is some sort of disk or some sort of land out of water. And we don't really know exactly. But it is definitely flat at the surface, and it's not too hard to comprehend, and it's not too crazy. And I don't understand why people have such a hard time with it, but they do. So that is belief, and the more you research, the more what you have to do to believe. You have to open something up in you. There's something in you, and I know what it is. It's called pride. So when you decide to, okay, I'm just going to research it. What you have to decide, what you have to recognize in yourself is someone liked you, and you accepted the lie. That's what I had to do. I was like, oh, but I wasn't a big deal for me because I didn't research it much. And my friend was like, oh, I don't believe 9/11 happened. And I was like, that's ridiculous. How could everybody be in on it? He goes, just research it. I don't want to argue with you about it. And I go, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I want to research it. Give me more information. And he did. And I did. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Of course they could get away with it because the news is so controlled. I didn't know that. And I went right towards banking, central banking, and the Bilderberg Group, and the bloodlines of Illuminati, and I realized, okay, there is a control system. If they wanted to fake something, they could because they own the news, and they own the news that everybody watches, and then the news that people don't watch, that's on the internet that people watch now, they say bad things and lie about them, and they just say, oh, it's not true, it's fake news. And then you go on this cycle, and you go on this journey, and you meet a lot of cool people, and then you argue with those people about little factoids and stuff, and hopefully we're getting away from that now. But that's kind of where it goes, and it starts with this idea that you have to get rid of your pride. You have to get rid of the fact that you just have to admit, like, yeah, I was like to, yeah, I was global. No big deal. Like it's oh, ha ha, the Earth. Of course, I don't know if the Earth is flat or spinning because I don't even know if it's like it's spinning. Like it's come on, man, that was high school, and we didn't pay attention in high school, and now we're doing our own research and in order to do that, you have to get rid of your ego. You at least a little bit. You have to be willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong all the time. But I want enough proof to be wrong. I'm not going to settle if you just give me these fake pictures. A picture isn't enough. You have to give me more than just. It has to be. If it was a picture, if it wasn't computer generated, then it was fine. But if it's made by a computer, the same thing they can do in the movies, the same thing they can do with Adobe Photoshop, I'm not going to believe you that it was science and it was the Hubble telescope. Like, show me Hubble. Show me it being made. Show me the International Space Station being made. Show me footage of people getting on the rocket ships. People are like, oh yeah, I will. And then they'll go look and they'll see all the same pictures that we all see. And then hopefully if you can be like, all right, whatever, I'm just gonna try to debunk it, or I'm just gonna like you don't change your belief first. You understand who you are, and you got to understand that you didn't research it that well. Okay, like I'm just a guy that didn't research it that well, and then you have to understand the simulation part. You have to understand the computer generated images. You understand the timeline, the story. That's the best way to start. Is just go back to the beginning, history of flat Earth, Earth to base, YouTube. It just goes through the timeline. It's beautiful. It works really well, and that's the story of cosmology. It's the true history, and then you can kind of pick which one, but you will know Copernicus to Galileo to Newton to Einstein, and then Newton said it was all relative, and then you can start, okay, what is relativity? Okay, what is subjectivity? Okay, what is objectivity? And with the Enlightenment, oh, okay, they were trying to make everything I think therefore everything come from me. Oh, what is that? That's a spirituality. That's oh, they're mirroring energy. They're mirroring emotion. Oh, okay. What are they doing in politics? Why is it everything so spiritual? Why is it so important for everybody to follow? If it's good for you, then why do I have to follow it? Why is it so important that I have to bow down to you and sacrifice to you? That's I'm not your spiritual slave, and that's kind of where it goes. That's what they want, and that's weird. So that is belief, and that is what I believe. And tell me what you believe. I would love to hear it. Comment, like, and subscribe. And the next one will be where, and that is the calendar. Oh no, I'm sorry, not where. When is the interdimensional stuff? When is the metaphysics? When is the stuff I love? So that's my go-to. Check out French Lily Poetry on YouTube. Check out that stuff. Check out my time travel stuff. Check out Time Machine and the Space Time Continuum poem. And check out the 10 Dimensions poem. And check out when will be the calendar. We'll talk about the calendar. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So I still got to do a little more research. I got to prep that one a little bit, but we'll probably do it in two parts. And we'll do the calendar, and then we'll do the metaphysical. We'll do the 10 dimensions as well, and I'll go over the dimensional states we live in, and that's my go-to. So yeah, and then I'll probably do a series on that, or do a series on some of the other stuff. But there, one more. This is kind of the end of the series, and then there's that one. But yeah, so yeah, tell me what you believe. All right.